Welcome to another episode of Sanctuary Radio. This is a podcast brought to you by Sanctuary Recovery Centers. Our mission is to break the stigma surrounding addiction, to empower others to live addiction-free lives, providing hope to those who suffer from addiction and offer continued care and true healing. Well, here we are, another episode of Sanctuary Radio. Oh, you got the braces off?
I got my braces off.
Oh my God. Yeah. Throw a big smile for the camera, please. There it is. And your teeth are actually still white.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
You know, I brushed them this time.
You
this
did?
time around, yeah. When I was a teenager, not so much, but this time I brushed them.
You do learn from your mistakes.
I did.
Okay, that's
just
nice.
This one time, though, Jason.
So my co-host Hailey is here, and today,
what's up, everybody?
On today's episode, we have Tesleah from Pinnacle Peak Recovery, business development specialist. So everybody, welcome Tesleah to the show. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do for Pinnacle? We'll talk about your story, then we'll come back around at the end and just let everybody know what Pinnacle Peak's got going on.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me here today. So I work at Pinnacle Peak Recovery, business development specialist. So basically that means I'm responsible for kind of helping expand the brand name that we have going on. I work with different people in the community like you. So if I have someone that we can't help and you can help them, then we kind of get them connected with you guys and vice versa. We also have been on kind of a campaign for going out and working with different types of parts of the healthcare industry, like primary care practices, private therapists, psychiatrists, and just kind of expanding where we can to help more people in the community that are struggling with addiction and mental health.
Oh, that full spectrum of care.
100%.
Hailey, you might be a client.
Maybe.
No, maybe. Oh, my bad.
Just depends on the day, I guess.
Yeah, it just depends on what's going on.
Exactly.
I mean, you're back, Hailey. I mean, I missed you.
I missed you too, Jason.
I know, you're back. It's good to see you.
I was gone for like, what, a month and a half?
Yeah, it felt like ages.
It did.
It did.
I was a little homesick, I'm not going to lie.
You were a little homesick. And so when we all think about our journey of recovery and working in recovery, you know, we have a passion for it. And usually it's because of our own experience, you know, over the years. You know, everybody's journey starts somewhere. So we're going to get into your story today, Tesleah, and how it all begins with you. And I mean, you were born in Chandler, right?
Yep.
Shout out Chandler.
Yeah, Chandler Regional.
Chandler Regional. You ever been there?
No.
You haven't been there? All them kids? What hospitals were they born at, Hailey?
We were all, including myself and my sister, Arrowhead Hospital. It's
Arrowhead?
one of the closest to Wickenburg.
Oh, Wickenburg. I always forget.
Yeah. I'm on the opposite spectrum of the state. So.
Chandler's like the opposite side of the world.
Right.
You know, my wife's from Chandler. She went to Hamilton. So, actually, all the cases that I caught were all out of Chandler.
Were they?
Yeah, they don't like me so much over there. Try not to go back. Things change, though.
I was going to say, you could go back today and it'd probably be okay.
Times have changed. Yeah. And so, Tesleah, why don't you kind of talk about, you know, what it was like growing up in Chandler, the family dynamic. I know, you know, your mom had you when you were young, or she was young, and it was kind of like this group dynamic that raised you, and addiction was surrounding it at all times. So why don't you just kind of paint the picture of what it was like growing up for yourself?
My mom was super young when she had me. She was in foster care actually till she was 13 or 14. And then she had me about 17, 18. So in a way, we always say that we kind of grew up together. But I had two other uncles that were near me. So one was her biological brother. They had kind of been able to move from house to house together when they were little until my grandparents finally adopted them. My grandparents were never able to have kids of their own, so they just fostered everyone in the world that they could. And so they were, 14, 15, 16, 17 years older than me, so it was kind of a strange little age gap there. It was like having siblings, because I didn't have siblings when I was younger. I was kind of like only child syndrome, and I was like the princess, I was the baby. And so just growing up around them, I just kind of wanted to do exactly what they did, wanted to be exactly like them. They were super cool. They were like rockers and, like smoked weed. And
so you had the cool mom and
Oh,
all the cool
no.
mom and uncle, I guess.
Oh, cool mom, cool dad kids go to prison.
Exactly.
Yeah, you always want the cool mom and the cool dad until the
Right.
consequences start to pile up on
Right.
you.
Yeah. I even wanted to be a young mom. Like I always imagined myself to be, I don't know.
I could see it now. Tesleah, Teen Mom OG.
Yeah.
Oh, the OG of the teen mom scene?
Dude,
Yeah.
can you remember when like everyone was getting pregnant when that series came out so they could be on the show?
It was a miracle that
Right.
I wasn't one of them. All my friends had their first kids, I feel like at that age, like 15, 16 years old.
Wow.
My mom had 3 girls, and all of us made it through high school without getting pregnant. That was like her biggest accomplishment as a mom.
That is a huge
Yeah.
accomplishment for you guys, I'll tell you that.
Exactly.
Well,
one of us is gay, so
Okay, so that
yeah.
made it easy.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much.
And so Tesleah, you start elementary school and, we've talked and we kind of talked a little bit about your story. And so it's always about reinventing yourself. So what was like elementary school look like for you?
Elementary school was weird. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. I'm tall. I've got like a small frame, so I was always taller than everyone else. I was always like awkwardly skinny. And I had friends, but I remember even my birthdays when I was super young, like 2nd, 3rd grade, I wanted particular people at my birthday, and if they didn't show up, I was like crying. I remember one year my mom was like, you need to be grateful for the people that did show up. And I was like, but Monica didn't come,
Right.
Yeah, and I was always trying to just like fit myself in with, I guess, who I thought was cool or like what I wanted to be like. And I just did this for so long. And it's funny because I've done that as I've been older too, and I can tell it started at such an early age, and I never felt like, good enough. I never felt like I really fit in. And then I remember there was one girl that was like super mean to me. She was like on my first inventory. When
she
went
made
through
the
my
resentments?
steps. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
funny.
It was like, I won't say her name, but
Yeah, right off the
it
top.
was like, yeah, she told everyone I talked shit about them. And like the few people I had convinced that I was like a cool person didn't like me anymore. And so 6th grade kind of sucked.
How many people have you on the resentment list, Hailey?
Oh, have me on there?
Yeah.
Probably so many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't make mine, just so you know.
Okay. Yeah. No.
Yeah,
I'm 100% certain I'm the top of a lot of people's list.
Oh, you made the
I
list.
was a terrible kid in middle school and high school. Yeah.
Okay, all right. And so, Tesleah, that kind of carries you into 7th and 8th grade. And, so let's see what that time period looks like. What was 7th and 8th grade? I know you started using during that period of time, also reinvented yourself again, wanted to see, my biggest thing is I'm a people pleaser. I'm a chronic overcommitter. I want to be liked. I seek validation through others.
Same.
And it's just one of those things that I still carry with me today. I just want to, people ask me after I speak at meetings, like, will you sponsor me? I'm like, yep. Knowing damn well I ain't got no
You
time.
already got like 20 guys in the book.
There's
right
no
now.
way I could even do it. But I still say yes. So it's one of those things that, I know is a complete sentence. I have to, keep schedules and make sure that everything is organized because I just want to make everybody happy.
Right.
But what's 7th and 8th grade look like for you?
7th and 8th grade was fun. It was a new experience. It was like, that weird age when you're like, I don't know, from like 12 or 13 to like 14. And you're like, I don't know. For me, I was like, I'm a woman now. I'm an adult.
I don't know if Jason can relate to that statement, but I know what you're talking about.
now.
Yes.
I've done some LSD, so I've had some thoughts. I've had some thoughts.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, it was like a chance, like you said, for me to kind of start fresh and start over. And I got all, these new clothes, and I just had this vision in my mind of who I was going to be and what I was going to be like. And I kind of was able to leave pretty much everyone from elementary school behind. I had one really good friend, and she moved in like 5th or 6th grade. And so when I went into 7th grade, it was these other schools that fed in. And so I kind of navigated towards the other girls that were just like me, looking for a place to fit in. And we kind of just made our own little bad girl squad. And
Ooh, Bad Girls Club. Yeah. You were in the Bad Girls Club, huh, Hailey?
I guess. I don't know.
Have you seen the show?
No.
Yeah, you got to check it out. You probably fit in. You might be able to get on. I don't know about Teen Mom, but you can get on that show.
I was like awkward all through high school.
Oh, okay, my bad.
And the only reason I was at the popular table is because my best friend loved me, but everyone at the table hated me. So.
Oh, Okay, well, at least you made it to the table.
Yeah,
exactly.
We were popular, but not in like a
Good way?
positive way. No.
So if you, when
Like
you
the
say,
negative way.
yeah, when you say you're not popular in a good way, so, you know, what were you up to during that period of time? Because you start using during this period of time as well, right? Smoking weed, drinking.
And there was this like boy, I don't even want to call him a guy. We were like kids, but that I liked, and he sold weed and smoked weed. So I was going to smoke weed. And the first time that I tried weed, I was at the park, and there was like this bully that lived right by the park in the neighborhood, and she was super nice to me. She's super mean to everyone else. And so she's like, "You're going to smoke with me today." And I was like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. And it was so embarrassing. I had never smoked out of a pipe before, and I like put the pipe in my mouth, like almost all the way in my mouth. And it was like the most embarrassing 6th grade or 7th grade experiment ever. And
That's funny.
I don't even remember like really getting high. I just remember being so fucking embarrassed. And I was like, "Oh my God, I need to like learn how to do this right," you know?
Right.
And so I like continued trying and like kind of figured out how to smoke the right way. And I remember super early on, I didn't even like the feeling of getting high. But everyone else around me did. And it was just like, I felt like it's what I needed to do to fit in, I guess. It sounds so cheesy. But yeah, so I was like already smoking weed and stuff. And I remember in 7th grade, the first time I got drunk, it was crazy actually. It was on a Sunday afternoon. Like I just clearly didn't know what to expect, but me and this girl I was friends with just got wasted, and it was these 2 older guys that she knew, and she was so drunk. I remember like, this is I'm like 13, I think, and she almost got raped in the room. I remember seeing this guy bring her in the room, and they're like 18 or something, you know, and I'm like pounding on the door, super drunk myself. And yeah, it was just crazy. It was like the first time I got drunk, you know? And so they basically kicked us out. Like, I think they got scared because we were just so fucked up. And they didn't even take us home. They dropped us off at the park by her house, and we went into her dad's house, and her dad and her sister were like, "What pills did you take? What are you on? What are you on?" And we're like, we're just tired. And they kind of let us sleep for a little bit and then took me home. And I don't remember. I think I got grounded for the first time for a couple days. I think I was supposed to come home like right after school, you know, for a few weeks or something. And I don't really remember any consequences after that. But for whatever reason, I decided to do that again the next weekend, and then just kind of like the next weekend forever.
Yeah, the next weekend,
And the next weekend. Yeah.
Friday turns into Friday, Saturday.
Doesn't even matter the experience you have, right? We just continue to go back to it.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like most of the time we don't even like it, but we keep doing it, right? It's like I threw up all night. I'm never doing this again as I'm like, doing it again.
Yeah. So sick. And where my 13-year-old friend almost got raped, and I'm like not thinking it would happen to me, you know, I'm just like, man, that sucks for her. It's crazy. And then, so a lot of these girls that I had started hanging out with, like, I just remember we would have there's always like older guys involved, like older brothers. It's kind of creepy.
Or something. I was thinking that like when we were kids, like me and my group of friends, there was always like 2 or 3 like guys who were out of high school hanging out with us, and it's like, why?
That's weird.
Yeah, it's really, really creepy if you look back at it now.
Yeah, we would all just lie, and we would like go to the mall, and we'd get picked up in one of their trucks. And
are we talking about Fiesta Mall?
No, it was Chandler Mall.
Oh, Chandler Mall.
It was when Chandler Mall was new too.
Oh, okay.
It was like nice. Right. And yeah. And so we would pile into the back of these trucks, and it was like, you know, the girls that I was friends with at the time, their older brothers or older brothers' friends or whatever. And we would just go out all night, and, you know, the 3 or 4 of us or 5 of us girls would just share like a bottle of Jack Daniels, and we would just get super plastered every night. And then we'd all stay at someone's house, and we'd all say like, we're going to stay at Lindsay's house or Natalie's house. And I don't know, like I was telling you before, I always had really good grades. Like I always showed up to school. I didn't really ditch or anything. So I don't think my family had really much of a clue what was going on. My mom did.
Yeah, mom knew.
My mom knew what was up.
Yeah, mom knew. Mom's like, I don't know. Don't let them grades fool you.
Yeah.
Hailey, did you get good grades?
No.
Okay, just checking.
No, I was a terrible student. I was a class clown, literally voted class clown in
my
yearbook. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Yeah, I got kicked out of classrooms. Teachers wouldn't teach me. Like, I was not a good kid.
That's not a shock.
I don't even know how I graduated.
That's not a shock.
It was alt school.
And so you end up going to Dobson High. Shout out Dobson High. What's the mascot? Do you remember?
Mustangs.
Oh, the Mustangs.
Why are you looking at me?
You're a horse person. Don't you have something cool, a fun fact about Mustangs?
They're
I don't
wild
know.
horses. That's
Okay,
what a Mustang
there we go.
is.
Hey,
sense.
something's better than nothing.
Yeah.
So you go to Dobson and you actually, the progression of just like for all three of us sitting here today, it always starts with smoking. And for me, it was fitting in, having the courage to talk to women or girls during that period of time, right? And being fitting in and coming out of my shell, right? And being social and doing all those things. Right. I don't want to do it, but I keep doing it. The baffling feature of addiction, the utter inability to leave it alone, no matter how great the necessity or wish. All that stuff that we learn later on in life. And so the progressions for me turns into coke, turns into everything else that comes along with it, because it was fun, right? Like high school was fun. Partying in high school was fun. Yeah, and that's the only thing my alcoholic mentality wants me to remember.
Is the fun times.
What year was my fun?
1997.
Ooh.
1997, sophomore year in high school.
I know we're aging, Jason.
I'm going to be 40 on Saturday.
I know.
Holy
You're old.
I mean, I'm getting old. I feel old after I play soccer.
I bet.
I got to stretch to get out of bed in the morning.
I just feel old when I wake up in the morning because I slept wrong and my arms are asleep and I just
I sneezed the other day and I felt like I pulled a muscle.
You pulled a muscle in your back?
Yeah.
Literally anything you do nowadays.
But that's the thing. Like, it was fun in high school, and that's all, my disease wants me to remember is when it was fun. So this was the time period when it was fun for you. You were partying. Yeah. It was fun, but the progression. So why don't you just kind of briefly just touch on, like, what high school was like for you?
So speaking of the progression, the first time I got pulled over, it was right before I was about to turn 16, and I was drinking by then, and I think I had tried Coke a couple times, but wasn't really committed to anything but alcohol at that point. And I technically would have had my first DUI. And again, I didn't really get in too much trouble. I didn't go to jail or anything. They let me do a diversion program, which I don't even remember what I did, but I completed the program. And so it's not on my record. Unless you pay for one of those weird.
Oh, the deep down.
Where they can find it.
Yeah, it pops up. I'm like, oh,
there it is.
Yeah.
And so, you start doing, alcohol is your main thing during this period of time, but you're experimenting with all other kinds of drugs. You've almost reinvented yourself again with the scene that you're in.
Yeah.
But you graduate with a 4.3 GPA.
Yeah. So
damn.
That's crazy to me. But I was also drinking in math class, so.
Yeah, I never.
Jason looks
I
at
never
me.
drank at school. I smoked so much weed though. I don't know how I did so well. I don't think I did a ton of homework, but then again, I'm one of those people that will always just kind of get it done at the last minute. If I'm staying up all night to do it, I'll do it, and it's usually pretty decent. But yeah, high school, like you said, it was fun. I don't think I had any crazy consequences, and with the DUI thing, I never got
a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, not even that. It was
probably just
they
gave you
should
street
have slapped
cred.
me on the wrist.
Yeah, street cred.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, street cred.
Yeah. Well, the way it happened, it was
I don't have street cred, but
you got it now.
Yeah.
You got it now, Hailey.
Yeah, now maybe.
Yeah, I picked up two guys that had broken out of Sunsplash because they stole rafts for the river, and I was the one that came and picked them up because I was cool and had a car. Street cred.
That's funny.
But yeah, so I'm moving towards. I was actually on my dance company too in high school. It's funny because I was a pretty good student. I just got super fucked up on most, the weekends, and then smoked a ton of weed, but I held it together just fine. And then, so I graduate, and I'm I remember the rehearsal. I was so drunk. Me and my friend show up, and we were just wasted, and we almost got kicked out. Because it was early in the morning, we were clearly drunk from the night before.
That's funny.
It was when you have to go on a Saturday or a Sunday morning, and you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, we're just gonna drink a little bit tonight because we got it in the morning.
Right,
and
no
one
one
will
ruin
even
my
know.
weekend.
You're like, I might need to drink a tall boy on the way there.
Just to stop the shakes.
Oh, the shakes.
I had a breakfast beer.
That's
when I was in high school, it was breakfast beer, so you didn't.
What kind of beer were you drinking in high school?
Coors Light, and then you put the tomato juice in it, and that's the breakfast beer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
I don't know why I called it that. But
Clamato?
yeah.
Okay. A little bit of salt?
A little bit of salt.
Okay. All right. And we're ready to go for the day.
You just didn't feel hungover, and it was great. Yeah.
Breakfast beer is clever.
Yeah, that's nice. And so, that day, the dance, did you tear it up or what? Were you in the super zone?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I only started dancing because I was playing basketball, and like it's not cool to be like a 12-year-old girl playing basketball in my mind at that time. I'm like, I have to dance because all the girls in my junior high, the popular girls, started dancing when they were like 3 years old. And that was the thing to do, was dance and cheer. And so I didn't even start dance till I was like 12, and I was never great. I think if I had the training, I could have been good because I had like a little bit of natural talent. But yeah, somehow I kind of just worked my way up. I got onto the dance company, which I ended up getting kicked off. They said I plateaued, and it was because I was the only one that would show up with like cashed eyes, smelling like weed. And
yeah, they frown upon that.
Yeah,
Yes.
they weren't down. It's not the look that they were.
No, they weren't looking for
not
that.
the vibe.
They had to put you in the back.
I did ballet for like 6 months and realized I'm not very coordinated.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't
even
even going to go
with
there.
even with training.
Yeah, I wasn't even going to go there.
I wasn't even good at basketball either, so I tried. I really did.
But you can ride a horse.
I can ride a horse.
Okay.
I
all
can
right.
rope.
You got the buckles to prove it too, don't you?
I just have one out of my
Okay,
addiction.
my bad. I mean, you had to me mug the shit out of me. I mean, sorry. I just know you got a buckle.
It's like a sore subject
hurts a
for me
little.
because I lost a lot of my stuff in my addiction. So I have
okay.
one buckle left.
Okay. All right. But
hurts my
you've
feelings.
earned many of them.
Yes.
Okay. All right. There we go. And so you end up graduating 4.3 GPA like we talked about. And, the drinking becomes more heavily. You start blacking out when you drink. And I'm a blackout drinker myself.
Right.
I can't remember anything that happened the night before. That was, high school
everyone's
for me.
telling you what you did.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
embarrassed. You pee.
Yeah. I'm peed the bed.
Like,
Yeah. I've
I was
done
gonna
that.
say that was me.
Yeah. I pissed the bed a few times.
Yeah.
You're in your own vomit when you wake up in the morning.
You think
I
I'm in
was
the
blacked
bathroom
out before the party even started. That's the problem.
on the way there.
Yeah.
Huh?
No, I didn't even get to the party. It was just I was blacked out before it started.
There's a picture of me in the middle of a party, and for whatever reason, because that's just how it goes, there's like a bed in the living room, like a small bed in the living room. I think it was like a makeshift couch because it was just a party house. And, they always say don't pass out with your shoes on. And so this guy, I won't even mention his name, he's such a, just bully, blacked out my whole face with Sharpie.
Oh my
Those
gosh.
thick Sharpie pens.
Shit.
Yeah.
Hey, production, we're gonna need to find that picture and go ahead to find that
Oh my
picture and
God.
post it,
No,
please.
the most fucked up thing is my shoes were off in the picture. My shoes were off, and I was like, that.
They
is
still
just
messed with you.
cold.
Oh,
Yeah.
that ain't cool. And so,
funny.
when we talk about the underlying issues of our addiction, it's, the drugs and the alcohol are not the problem. They're the solution to the problem. It's the negative emotions that we experience, the guilt, the shame, the
trauma.
embarrassment, and the trauma. And so you have a traumatic event that happens to you. Do you want to share about that right after high school?
Yeah. So it was like leading up. I had already been in so many compromising positions, and when you're young and you're like hanging out with older guys and like shit starts to happen and you're like, well, was it my fault? And, it just started super young for me. And then I feel like I was kind of like working my way up there, and I'm starting to do more and more drugs, and I got pretty heavy into cocaine and just whatever was there, and my self-worth, like not that it was ever really there before, but as I got older, it was just less and less. And, it kind of wears down on you. Like there were times I remember accidentally being involved in like a robbery or something, and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? 'Cause that's just not, as much as it's, I guess, kind of what I grew up around. It was more like my family, it was more like they would drink sometimes and like smoke weed. I never saw them do drugs like I did. They weren't like robbing people. It wasn't like that kind of party. And so I guess the people I was around, and myself included, just kind of took it to the next level. But yeah, so by that point I was like hanging out with some pretty shady characters, and I was like very accustomed to just every time I knew I was going to go out, I was going to be, totally down, like sedated on the floor by the end of it. And so after I graduate high school, I turned 18, graduated in May, turned 18 in July. And then August, I was actually out here. That's why I'm like not fond of this area.
The slopes.
It was like,
the slope.
I want to say it was 83rd Ave in Northern is what.
83rd
that's
Ave
way-
in Northern.
Way
That's
down
what,
the way a
Glendale?
little bit.
Yeah, that's Glendale.
Yeah.
Peoria,
I don't like
that
that
area at all.
I don't think a lot of people do.
Most people don't like that area.
So I don't know even how we ended up there. It was me and one other girl, and God, we were just barely turned 18. And so we were at some like hotel party, like we were on top of, it was like a rooftop party or something near Scottsdale in the 202, I remember. And I was drinking, what is it, sangria?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the really
Sangria?
strong like wine or whatever with the
It's like the fruity wine.
yeah,
where
and
they
like the
make
fruit
it.
soaked in
Yeah.
it. Oh God. And whatever the hell happened through the events that transpired through that night, I end up getting assaulted, full blown assaulted for the first time. That night where it was no question. It wasn't like, did I, it was what it was. And we like called the police, and the girl that was with me, like, came to the station with me, and it was like this whole, it was a case, it was crazy.
Right.
And like, it's so weird when you come close to these lines and then all of a sudden you're on the other side of it and it feels like you're just like in a movie or it's surreal or something. And I remember all my family coming to the hospital, and they like, had to like keep my clothes for evidence. And it was this whole crazy thing. And so after that, I would get, like letters and stuff about like victim impact statements and all this shit I wanted nothing to do with. And I would just toss them out. And the guy actually ended up being charged and doing some time.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it
that's
was
not common at all.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
I know. I think that's why like I was able to get some type.
Closure.
Yeah. Pretty early on. And it was kind of cool that like the state did have my back, like I didn't show up to anything. I never responded to anything. And he did end up getting charged. I had heard that he had like a really good lawyer. I think it was continued for a year or two or whatever. And by then I was fucking gone.
Yeah, by that time.
So, but I had heard, and they sent me something of like the final outcome or whatever. And so after that,
You meet a guy.
yeah, of course.
Hailey, that sounded like your story,
I
huh?
know.
I met a guy.
Every time.
It's always
I met
Or a girl.
guy.
There was a girl.
Every once in a while,
Yeah.
there was a girl.
There was a
Yeah.
girl involved one time.
A couple
And
times.
so you meet a guy, and he's like the plug, and and so from there it kind of gets escalated into the rave scene and pills. And so why don't you share about what that time period, because once we start escalating into the pills and the
Right.
Percocets and
Wild.
the Xanax and the heroin,
It's a totally different scene.
and the
Yeah.
the negative consequences can start to rain down upon us pretty
Right.
quickly for all of us, and including yourself, and we'll get to that here in a second. But what was that period like when, the progression from pills into heroin and everything that comes along with this guy-ish, if you will? Why don't you share about that?
It's so crazy. It's like my adrenaline's already building just thinking about it, because I don't like, I talk about this stuff all the time,
Right.
but you really like go back into it. And it's just like, how the fuck I can see, I'm speaking now and I can see how it progresses into that.
Right.
It only makes sense. It's like, it just kind of flows like water, but it's just crazy. It just got so heavy so quick. And so yeah, I meet this girl actually first, and she would like, she went to a ton of raves, and she sold acid on sweet tarts. And so I just like it was like weak acid. It was shitty acid, but still I
You
would
need
take
about
these
7 of them.
sweet
I
tarts
never
all
got
the
to
time.
do acid, so
It was fucking fun. It was a lot of fun. Like it was.
she's like, it was so much
it was
fun.
so much fun.
Did you
yeah.
have a pacifier in your mouth and
No,
all that kind of?
no,
You weren't
I
that
never
type of
What is
raver?
it? Cookie
No.
Monster pajama pants?
Oh, anyone who wears Cookie Monster pajama pants does heroin, guarantee it.
Yeah.
Did you have any Cookie
I
Monster?
didn't.
Oh,
No.
okay.
Jason, I swear, like it's a
I'm
thing
convinced.
with him.
I'm convinced.
I will say I was more of like, I'll say I was more of an observer.
Okay.
I wasn't like,
No
I
glow
didn't have
sticks?
like rave mom, rave dad, like a rave name.
Yeah.
Like people would ask me my rave name and I would just say Cinderella.
Did you
because
get
I
the
was
glow
like, "Go
sticks?"
away." I had some glow sticks
Okay.
for sure.
All right.
Yeah, the
Vicks
couple
Vapor
raves
Rub?
I went to, it was
mean,
just I just danced. Like I didn't
Yeah.
get all weird and dress up and stuck on a pacifier.
No, you didn't? Oh, okay.
No.
And so, it escalates real quick. So why don't you just talk about the escalation and the progression of your drug use, and let's, kind of move through that so we can kind of get to, what's really important is you finding the solution and the hope that comes from that. And so let's just talk about the escalation real quick of your drug use.
Yeah. So I kind of meet that group of people, and then I meet this guy. He had like a backpack full of drugs, and everyone knew who he was. And like when you're going to raves and you're doing those kind of drugs, you're doing ecstasy, you're doing acid, you got to come down. If you're me, like I don't like being up there for too long. I have to come back down. It started with alcohol. Like I love depressants, I love downers. And so always got to come back down. And so that's when I got a little bit heavier into like Percocets and stuff. And I had already done, Xanax by then, but nothing really grabbed me too hard until we start smoking these pills. And so we move in from, like taking the pills and snorting them, and then we're like smoking them and stuff. And it's, painkillers, whatever kind. And then, so this dude brings around heroin, and I guess you hear the name heroin and it sounds terrifying, just like meth sounds terrifying, just like crack sounds scary, but it'd never been in front of me. And by this point, so many other things had the door was just opened a little bit more. It was like, it's
not a big deal.
Yeah, it wasn't that crazy at that point.